Welcome to Seat Time, everybody, the off-road show that brings you all the results, news, and online shenanigans that make being online a good time. We'd like to say thank you to Fly Racing for their support of Seat Time. Please go check them out at flyracing.com. Welcome to Seat Time, everybody. Brian Pierce here, your host for this fine Tuesday evening. This is episode 160, brought to you, presented by Fly Racing, those fine folks that not only support our sport, but also support this show, which means you should support them. Of course, it's Tuesday. It's Seat Time night here in Texas, and it's unfortunately starting to get warm.
Oh, my gosh. It was the dog actually went in the pool today to cool off.
See,
I felt like jumping in after.
I was about to say, I was like, did you go in after? Because
it was high 80s.
It's pretty nuts, huh? I mean, it's like 2 weeks ago we had snow, and now we've got high 80s. So, I mean, it's Texas, buddy. We're going to start talking about temperature all over again. So, of course, Seat Time, not only are we brought to you by Fly Racing, of course, the folks over at Kenda Tire USA. You can learn more about those guys at kendatire.com. Great thing about those guys, if you've noticed, been watching Endurocross series, National Enduro, events like the TKO, huge sponsors of those events, because what they're doing is they're putting a very big focus on more like kind of specific tires for those markets. A lot of dual compounds going into that kind of stuff. A lot of research with the riders out there. So if you're not very familiar with the brand, definitely go check out the website, learn about that. You'll see them on the National Enduro site. You're going to see them, of course, on the TKO site and for Endurocross. So big supporter of us.
And they really have updated a lot of their tires. Their products out there, if you look, they almost all have a tube behind them.
A dose.
So they dose.
Yeah.
This is Texas dose. So they've been upgrading their products and keeping them current.
Yeah, and we of course will in the near future be giving away actually a couple sets. We don't know how we're going to do that yet. If you guys have any ideas on how you think you would like your chance at trying to win some Kenda tires, we'd like to hear that. Maybe if it's questions in the chat room, questions through Twitter, stuff on Facebook, any of that kind of stuff, whichever maybe social network you think is the best one, drop it in the comments and let us know, and we'll start putting that together for you. But Kenda has given the okay for us to start giving a couple sets away throughout the year. Now, we're not going to go crazy.
Yeah, but we're not talking about his used Baja.
Yeah, we're not talking about
DTs,
used tires that I've. Woody navigates the Baja Rally. You're welcome.
We've got a couple of real slicks we could take to the drag strip after Baja, but those aren't the ones we're giving away.
And then Stillwell Performance, the guys over at Stillwell Performance, Max Gerston's worked with them for a long time, not just as a rider, but of course he's actually been in the shop as well. So we're going to get a chance to learn more about that and talk with those guys. So if you ride off-road, and of course you're on a motorcycle with doing these off-road things, if you have questions about suspension, or if you feel like you're just not getting the best setup for your needs because you're running stock, you're in 4CS, you've got all these questions, I promise you, just go to the website and start talking to Alan Stillwell. Maybe you can find some of the stuff that we do, that we've done with him in our videos, and they're going to give you tips. Start asking those questions. I promise you, he's got answers for you. He's going to sell you on his service and what he knows, and that's the way to do it. So we really appreciate their support as well. So stillwellperformance.com to check them out. Because we got Max Gerston on first right now, we're going to go ahead and just dive right into that bad boy.
Yeah.
My dad and I have got some other just stuff that we're going to talk about, like the new 350 that we've been riding, of course the Recluse Clutch and how I tried to screw that up. All kinds of fun stuff, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So Mr. Max Gerston, how is your evening going, kind sir?
Man, so far so good. It's only 6 or so here, but had a big day and just starting to wind things down a little bit.
So 6. You don't go daylight saving time out there, do you? In Arizona?
Yeah, good question.
You're still standard time.
I don't know, man. We got so much stuff going on with our time zones, man. I just whatever it says, I go with. You know what I mean?
And it's also, since it's 6 p.m., that means it's after 5 somewhere, which is probably where Mr. Max Gerston is. So from what I understand, you probably are a PBR drinker, is from what I hear. Yes, there it is. Woohoo! Dig it, man. Dig it. Although good, I'm glad you're enjoying your form of a pint full of awesome. Of course, that is definitely what this show is about, is enjoying a pint full of awesome. That doesn't mean it has to be beer, but in this case, it will be. A lot of people are going to give me shit for this, but there's a story for that. And like I said, it's coming later in the show.
Where's mine?
You can have some of this one, old man. We're givers around here. We just like
Acadiana dirt riders. My goodness gracious.
I know, right? That back when I used to travel to Louisiana for races. So, dude, congratulations on your podium, your first pro Endurocross podium this past weekend in Salt Lake City. How did that feel?
Thanks, man. I mean, I can't even describe how good it felt. It felt so good. I mean, I just I mean, we've been working so hard for this for so long, and it's been a dream of mine since the beginning. And to finally get a pro podium against the best racers in the world, I mean, it's something that you can't even really comprehend. So I'm really excited. I'm all over it. I'm super stoked, and I'm ready for more, baby. Bring it on. Let's go.
I know, man. So how did you feel? Was there anything different, kind of going into this evening? And then, of course, it seemed like from pictures on the Instagrams that you probably didn't have the best hot lap. But, kind of talk to us about maybe, has anything changed? Have you just been kind of keeping up with the Joneses, with the norm? Or, how did you feel going in that brought you onto the podium?
Yeah, that's a good question, Brian. And to be honest with you, I haven't been doing anything that's ordinary. I mean, I've been doing a lot of mental training, which is just as important as the physical training. And then, I've been doing the elite training program down at Destry Abbott's gym, DA8 training facility. And, man, and between those two things, man, it's been able to take me to another level. I've been riding as much as I can on top of all of that. And by the time you do all that, man, I mean, I'm pretty much willing to do whatever I need to do to become a champion. And, I just work so hard. I mean, I'm working out 4 times a week, 2 hours a day. And, coming into that race, I always try to focus on just having fun and just going out there and getting a flow and having a good time. And that's what's most important to me, because when I put too much pressure on myself and I think about things too much, man, I freeze up. And I don't necessarily freeze up, but I just don't ride as well. And I really wanted to not do that. So I just try to focus on, hey, all the work's been done. Let's show up. Let's go race. Let's have a good time, and let's party a little bit. And that's how I go into races. You know what I mean? Let's go have some fun. Let's go bang some bars. And I love banging bars, and I like fighting. So it really works out like that. And that night I had a really rough hot lap. Obviously, I crashed really hard, went over the bars, landed on my back in the rocks, hit my shoulder really hard. I kind of thought I had a problem there, and hit my head, hit my shoulder. And it kind of sucked, but I wear the hat for a reason, man. It's time to cowboy up and let her fly. So
I like it.
That's what we do, baby. You know what I mean? It don't bother you. Can't let it bother you. You just got to block it out and keep it pinned. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. We actually had some questions about your cowboy hat, which I know we'll get to a little bit later. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that hot lap where you did. We've got a great picture that we got from Destry Abbott's Instagram feed where you just totally went OTB right there in the rocks. Kind of what happened? Was your hot lap going good and you just pinned her and there it was, or did something more specific happen?
Yeah, man, I actually had a really good hot lap going, dude. I was pinning it. I nailed all my lines, and there was a hole in the rocks that was like axle deep plus another 6 or 7 inches. So, I mean, it was like super deep hole. And my plan was actually to come through the rocks, carry momentum, and actually go up and over that hole. Well, it just didn't quite work out that way. And I found that hole and it was almost like my bike said, fuck you, you're gone. And I went flying, and to be honest with you, dude, I was on my back, sitting there, laying there like this, before I even knew what happened. I gotta be honest with you, I didn't even know what happened. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm okay. Let's keep riding.
Upward and onward.
Which of those crash bikes is mine?
Yeah.
Some of those turns were, of course, that was a hot lap. You were the only one there.
Yeah, I was the only one there, so I didn't have to worry about getting run over. So that was the good news. But, and it kind of, like, I have a history of not being able to put together a hot lap, which is kind of unlike me. I'm pretty good at working under pressure. But I wasn't worried about it. I didn't even care. I just got up, finished my hot lap. I had literally the slowest hot lap of the day. I was like the last person on the hot lap, and I wasn't worried about it. I said, you know what? And I had a second row start in my heat race, and I started second row, and I was in qualifying position by the second corner. And I'm like, you know what? What else are you going to do? Are you going to get worked up about it? So I just came into my heat race just like, yeah, whatever. Had a shitty hot lap, but we're gonna overcome that. We're gonna have a good night.
There you go.
How else are you gonna look at it? So I just kind of said, you know what? Yeah, it's sore, but
right
it's
on.
not gonna hurt tomorrow when I do well. So let's go, baby. Let's go.
Well, Max, talking about that second turn, let's talk about that first turn for a second. That was the nastiest log section I think I've ever seen. It used to be bad, like you were racing in Guthrie, when you'd come right out of the water hole and climb up 20 feet worth of stuff and go down. But in this one, you not only had to do the logs, you had to turn on the logs, go straight on the logs, and then turn on the logs again. And it was nothing but a demolition derby all night. So how did you succeed through there?
I don't know, man. I mean, it was a total CF on that log corner because, I mean, like, it wasn't like you turned and then had the log. It was like you turned on the log. So they put it in just the wrong place, which is basically the story of the Endurocross life.
Which is in Endurocross is just the right place.
The only thing they could have done to make it worse would put a water feature right in front of it or something. That would have been
a fountain right in the middle of it.
Then it would have been ridiculous. But so how did you succeed?
In the water.
Well, it looked like guys like yourself. They had some really good Instagram videos of you doing a really nice foot plant there on that rock to get around there. I think Mike Brown had something the same thing. So if you're coming in there and nobody's really close, was that kind of the hot way to hit that turn?
No, I had actually faded a little wider in that sweeper and actually squared up and hit it straight on and keep my feet on the pegs. But off the start, I think it was more about being smart than it was about being aggressive or anything like that, because being too aggressive on that thing, dude, that'll get in you trouble, because it was a big enough log where if you don't get a drive going up it, you'll fall back down, so you had to really nail it. So I think it was just as important to be smart about it and actually, pick your line and check up if everybody's getting a little too aggressive and fade back,
Let all the dominoes fall in front of you rather than be one of them.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Let them crash, let them figure it all out, and then you can drop in and, do what you need to do from there.
Overall, I obviously we've only been able to really watch the highlight videos so far on YouTube, and obviously some of the hot laps that the Endurocross guys have put up. I mean, it looked like the racing was intense, and everybody was kind of making mistakes and gaining and losing spots throughout the evening. But the one thing is, like, it seemed really quick. Like I think what Mike Brown's hot lap was like a 31.1, and then of course, and then and he had that ridiculous quad that he hit in the middle of it. But then as well, no water feature. So when you guys kind of showed up and saw the track and things like that, and start analyzing the obstacles that were out there, what were some of the overlying thoughts? I mean, like, oh, this is slow, oh, this is faster. Like, what were kind of some of the thoughts?
I mean, there's so many different styles of riders. But the guys that had the motocross background were stoked, and the guys that had the trials and extreme enduro background like myself were like, oh, this is going to be kind of a fast track. So we kind of had a good mix, but I mean, it was, for the most part, it was a pretty simple track. I mean, the rock section wasn't that bad. The water, they didn't have any water, so it didn't get super, super slippery, which usually changes everything.
Right, yeah.
So it was pretty simple. I mean, for me, it was really, I don't want to say easy, but I want to say simple track, and it wasn't too technical. I usually prefer the tracks a little more technical, especially because I'm on the two-stroke now, and that two-stroke just loves the gnarly. It's just like, throw it to me, baby. Give me that gnarly, and I'm gonna eat it right up. So I'm kind of looking for gnarly tracks this year, but the 300 two-stroke works so well everywhere. That's the thing. Like, when I first started riding it, I thought I was going to be giving something up. Like, I thought I was going to be giving up some fast-paced stuff where, like, in the jumps and stuff like that. And, but I ended up not. Like, I could jump everything, and obviously except for the quad, which is just ridiculous. I mean, Brownie was the only one even doing that. I mean,
that's that 125 Supercross or Motocross Championship background right there, hitting that thing the way he did. That was insane.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's 100 years old and hitting stuff that nobody else is hitting. It's like, yeah, you're pissing us off. He's a robot, dude. He's a robot.
Oh, it's so awesome. Now, you were talking about the 300. Now, you did make a switch. There was a time into 2015 and obviously prior years where you were going to be racing the 350 again this year. And at some point, you rode a 300 and called Alan. You're like, I'm changing it up. So talk us through that. Like, why did you what happened then that made you make that decision?
That's a really good question. And actually coming into 2015, I was pretty dead set on riding the 350. And, the 350 is a really good bike, and it's really good for Endurocross. It works really well. I rode. Here's one for you. I took my 300 to the Endurocross track along with my 350, and at that point I had been riding the 300 two-stroke, so I was really used to it and I was really jiving with it. And I did lap times. I brought one of my girls out with me and said, "Hey, let's go do some lap times." So we went out there, did some lap times, and this is no bullshit, I was 2 to 4 seconds a lap faster on my two-stroke than I was on my four-stroke. And that was on a track that catered the two-stroke. It was really gnarly. But I'm like, well, I'm just gonna learn how to ride this thing in the jumps then, because this is nice.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, dude, the lap times are speaking for itself. So I'm riding the two-stroke.
Very cool. Biggest not adaptation. Biggest thing that you had to adapt to. Obviously, my grammar's right there. So what was kind of like, you're like, okay, you're 350, you're 350, you're 350, you're starting to ride the 300 for fun. Now you're, bam, I'm riding the 300. What was that biggest thing that you had to learn how to adapt to on the 300 versus the four-stroke 350?
Right. That's another great question. I mean, it's just the throttle control and clutch control is basically it. I mean, it's so much more important on the 300. You have to be right there with your clutch. You got to be right there with your throttle. You have to get your timing down when everything's about timing. It's all timing. So I had to, the adaptation I made, I basically just rode the 300 more, and I just got really, 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 really used to it. And the more I ride that thing, the more I love it, because I get better at riding it and I get my timing better. And, at 300, it's just so responsive. You have to be more on top of your clutch control, and more on top of your clutch throttle and clutch control, excuse me. But it's for me, it's better. It's better for me.
Right on. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go for it.
When you're saying clutch control, is it because you're trying to avoid wheel spin, or you're trying to avoid like bogging from being in too tall a gear?
It's actually a little bit of both, mainly wheel spin. Because, if you come into the rock section like, you're just going to spin and bounce and flail all over the place, and your feet are going to be out, and you're not going to be having a good day. But if you come into that rock section and go, whoop, then everything's going to be kosher, it's going to hook up. Yeah. So you have to learn to use the bike in the power range, in certain parts of the track where it wants to be used. In the rocks, it needs to be low end. In the turns, it likes the high end a little bit more. So you really learn to learn how to use the bike where it works the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so what you're saying is that everybody who wants to be a better rider needs to get more seat time.
That's it, baby.
Yeah.
Seat time.
See?
And more pint full of awesomes.
Bam! That's what I'm talking about. I love it. We need to remember to go back through these, Steven, and pull some of these clips out. We've got a ton of them. We just never have time to remember to go back in there and do that kind of stuff. So you've been with Beta for a while now. That's awesome. You're the past 2012 junior, Endurocross champion, and you've been with Beta for a long time, having a lot of fun there. What's your contract looking like right now? How long do you see that relationship working? I would imagine it's very positive.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been with them since 2012. Like you said, I got a junior championship in 2012. 2013 and 14 were two big learning years for me. And, this year I'm actually looking for strong finishes. 2014, I ended up 5th place in points, which is huge. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
And,
I've never gotten 4th in the Endurocross series ever.
Yeah. It's tough.
So good job.
5th. Yeah. I ended up 5th. So it's not easy, but this year I'm looking for 3rd. And, I see, Tim Pillage, my boss over at Beta, we got such a good relationship, and it's nice. I don't take it for granted. He's on my team and vice versa, and we work together on things, and it all really works out pretty well. I love being on the team. I see it going somewhere in the future. I've been with them since 2012 now, so that speaks for something. In 2012 it started off as basically an amateur deal, like, hey dude, we'll give you a bike and we'll put you under the tent kind of thing.
Right.
And it's basically evolved into a full factory deal now. And, it's another thing is, he knows how I operate. He knows that I'm out working hard. I want it really bad. I'm motivated. And that speaks a lot for him. I mean, he likes that kind of stuff. So I
Absolutely.
see it going somewhere. And I like and to be honest with you, Brian, I love the bikes. The bike is so good. I mean, we have what I feel is the best suspension. The motor is great, and the chassis is unlike anything I've ever ridden. It turns great. I mean, the thing turns like a Suzuki, and it just everything about it is great. I love the motorcycle, so I don't see a reason to go anywhere else. To be honest with you, in the next couple of years, I'm on a 1-year contract right now, so at the end of this year, my contract will be up. But I'd like to re-sign with them.
Right. Yeah, no, I can understand that. It's I think a lot of people have always wondered, I know I have, like, why is KTM still make a chromoly frame bike, and why does Beta still make a chromoly frame bike, and why do a lot of European manufacturers make, but there have been pictures of KTM aluminum frame test bikes, and other manufacturers have tried those, and they say that their responsiveness to the bikes is what they worry about more so with that chassis, and that's why they still make them with those chromoly steel frames. So it's interesting. It's like the Japanese kind of manufacturers have chosen to go aluminum. Now, is that just because it's cheaper? I mean, who really knows? I'm definitely, by no means everybody knows this. I'm not a scientist. I'm never going to claim to be one.
Dude,
but
I thought you were, dude.
Hey,
You're a scientist.
I could fake it really well, but you've got some.
We've also heard people talk about changing their suspension settings because there's no flex in the chassis. If you remember last year, the Super Shot of Villapoto with his forks literally going back and forth like this because the frame wasn't moving a millimeter. Now, we don't want to go too far. Like the bikes I started on where you'd go into a turn and the whole frame would twist, and then you'd come out of the turn and it would untwist, and you had no idea where you were going.
Yeah, that was your suspension.
That's actually, what you just said is actually a really, really good point. I learned a lot about that when I was working for Alan Stillwell over at Stillwell Performance, and I always said to him, Al, let's take this set of forks from a KTM and put them on a Cowie, or vice versa. And he would say it would never work. He's done it, basically. It doesn't work because the bikes are so different, not just like you said, not just because the chassis, but because the frames, aluminum versus steel. It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's huge.
Yeah.
So,
and that and one of the things that you see, brands like KTM, brands like Beta, brands like Gas that are running these chromoly frames, a lot of their R&D goes into making sure that those points, like to your point, at the head tube, where you're going to get a lot of that flexion because of the suspension or what you're trying to avoid. They're going to different gussets, and the way that they weld it is going to be different. The way that it's structurally built is obviously different. And
the metallurgy.
Yeah, exactly.
Steel is not steel. There's all kinds of different alloys.
Yeah,
of course, aluminum's not aluminum. There's all kinds of different alloys. But
know.
It's just, it just takes bukus of time and buckets of money to test. Make that work.
And I think I believe that KTM and Beta and everybody else who uses steel frames. I don't think they don't use aluminum frames because they're dead set on the steel. I don't think it's because of lack of knowledge. I think they've tested everything and that they have truly found that the steel frame provides the best performance. I believe that. So like I said, my Beta handles amazing. I love how that thing handles.
Yeah.
But I haven't ridden an aluminum frame in the last 8 years, so I wouldn't necessarily know.
That's true. And then we've got guys like Ken Roxon, who was doing fantastic on KTMs.
He was.
And chose to go, ride a Suzuki, which you even said it. It turns like a Suzuki. Like there's still those brands still keep that feeling that people really enjoy to those motorcycles, regardless of it being steel or aluminum or anything like that. So obviously there's some consistency there.
I believe that was the team that was making settings to take up for the aluminum chassis.
Really?
Yeah, when I heard the Shaheen and company talking about it, they were talking about, I think it was the Suzuki team that had to make suspension changes for him because he was so used to a steel frame bike.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Hey, that's okay. No, it's a 3-hour program. So for me to not pay attention to a 3-hour program or miss something is you could put money on that. So no, but believe me, you're probably right. So let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that people were hitting up with us too on Facebook really quick. We got a couple questions, especially Mike Tosh was like, can Max Gerston give a live race report? And I'm like, sure, he can say whatever he wants. You know, it's not like it's only a Q&A, like he can only answer the question we ask. But then I'm like, well, wait a minute, is there something more to what a live race report is? So I figure I'm going to say, hey, do you have a live race report? And if it is something other than what I expect, then we're going to get it, right?
A live race report takes a lot, man. I mean, I have to mentally prepare. I have to emotionally prepare. I have to physically prepare. It's a big thing. But if you guys want it, I will provide.
Do I need to remove my earplugs?
All you'd get
no, dude. Put them in because it's going to get noisy in here.
Oh, that's what I'm afraid of. Okay, bring it.
Salt Lake City, Endurocross, 2015. We show up. Weather's perfect, and it's the perfect storm to get us a podium. I mean, I've pretty much said everything that I've said before, but I'm just going to fire off on this and just basically tell it like it is. I mean, we show up. I'm excited to ride. I hadn't been riding for like 3 days, and when I go more than 2 days without riding, I start to get like, oh, God, I don't feel right. And so I'm coming in, and time to go race, and so feels good. Everything's right. Bike is so good. I test the bike out around the parking lot a little bit and watch the racing during the day program. And, like you said, like we walked the track, and the track was, I was like, ooh, this is going to be pretty easy, but I guess I'm just going to fire away on this deal. And practice went really well. I had a really fun time in practice, and I was just focusing on having fun. The bike, I made a little adjustment to my motor on my bike, and sorry, that was my dad. And the bike was just so snappy and so responsive, and just like that classic two-stroke sound, it was just like, just felt and sounded so good. And there's nothing like laying down some two-stroke power on some fresh dirt, baby. You guys know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
So I was just having so much fun in practice. Hot lap came around, having a great hot lap. OTB, man, I went flying over the bars. I just got bit slapped into the rocks. I actually hit my head pretty hard, my shoulder, and my back when I landed. But it's time to cowboy up. You know what I mean? Let's go. Let's rock this thing. So
the helmet's still on. Let's keep riding.
Let's keep riding. You know what I mean? A little pain. That's whatever. You got to just block it out. That's what we do. So I had actually last gate pick in my heat race. So I started second row in my heat race. And I'm like, whatever. Let's just go have some fun. I mean, I'll figure it out. I live by that saying, I'll figure it out later. So I'm like, I'll figure it out later. So later is like now. I'm on the gate. Gate drops. I'm in the second row. I got to lay down some perfect power for like 5 feet. And then like I said, I had to play it smart. Everybody kind of shuffled around. People got bunched up. I kind of tried to sneak by to the left a little bit. I tried to be smart about it. I was in I want to say 4th, 5th, or 6th, coming in the second corner. More guys got bunched up in the second corner. I was able to kind of find a nice little middle line. Coming out of the second corner, dude, I was in 3rd place in my heat race behind Wally and Mike Brown. I was able to get by Wally by the end of the race. I got second in my heat. Cool, straight to the main. Let's rock this baby, And coming to the main event, we did the hot lap. So I did my hot lap. My second hot lap actually went really well. Had just a solid time, nothing ridiculous, but it just felt good. And so
yeah,
that was good. And then I got a pretty good gate pick, and I coming into the main event, it was a good time. I had a pretty good start, and people got bunched up in the second corner. There was a huge pile up in the second corner, and I was actually able to skate by, and I got kind of lucky on that deal, but it was kind of like a pile drive into the back of them or kind of skate over this rock. So I kind of skated over the rock. I dropped right into 3rd place or 2nd place at that point, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna hold this off. I'm gonna keep my shoulders wide. I'm gonna keep it pinned. I'm gonna hold this thing in second, and Hager eventually caught up to me, and I was able to hold him off for, I want to say, 5 or 6 laps, and he finally got by me. He was riding really well. So was Brownie, who was out in front of me. He was riding like a robot too, man. That dude is just a robot. And I was able to hold on for third, man. I rode well. I felt solid. My fitness was great. I was having a great time. My bike was awesome. And, I can't complain. I had a good time. The whole team, my bike, my suspension was working good. And I just brought it home for third, baby. That's the end of the story.
I like it. Next time I ask you for a live recap, I'm gonna put a time frame on it.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
No, it was awesome. What I want to do is I want to say, holy crap, I think you make the best bike noises ever. So somebody, like, you really have... Okay, here we go. Let's have some fun with this. So we're on your 300, right? And we're coming in to... We're coming like down a little divot, right? And we're going to come up this divot and go up maybe like a 15, 20 foot kind of steep face. So you're going in. So what's the bike sound like as you kind of come in, start to rev it up, and then brap yourself up the hill?
What kind of hill are we talking about here?
I'd say we'll go with fairly gnarly. We're not going to go with this is one about 90% of the time you're going to make it.
All right, so I got a hairpin corner. I'm coming in. I got a little run up, and we got a gnarly hill.
Yep.
Okay. Come in. On the brakes. Corner. And that was a whip at the top.
And then, of course, then that's the airing it out at the top. Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, I want to hear one more gate start for you. So you're at your Endurocross, you're on your 300, and so give us like 2 to 3 seconds of warming up, and then you see the board come up. So then you get to hit the revs.
Yeah. All right, cool. Sounds good. 30-second girl comes up. I'm looking at the 30-second girl. I'm really digging her. Bing, 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 30-second board turn sideways.
Yes.
First corner.
Elbows out.
Out.
All right. Any others while we're here? While we're in.
I'm actually.
I'm
pretty good at describing like a supercross section. So let's say we're going through a whoop section.
Oh, this will be
a
good.
Rhythm section. Yeah, so a whoop section, we got a 90 hairpin turn, a rhythm section, and then a triple. Ready?
I'm in.
We're off. On the turn. Triple. That's what I got for you right there.
I couldn't do it now. I'm so just like, that sounds so
but you can
awesome.
see it.
I can.
And that's what it was like 15 years ago.
What's even better is how you, in the midst, you don't actually breathe in. You describe what the next bit. So like in the turn, or up the hill, or I'm like 30-second board turns. I was like, that's when I'd be breathing. How are you? You know what I mean? I don't know how you're doing that, but I'm digging it. That's for sure.
I don't have to breathe, dude.
Breathing's for suckers, man. Okay, so
yeah, dude.
Thank you, because that was amazing. That was awesome, and I'm loving it. So let's get to the cowboy hat. We talked about that hat. I think it maybe was at Vegas when we were hanging out having a couple beers, but I personally don't want to screw the story up. But what we had is our friend John from Oklahoma on Facebook was asking when we mentioned that you were going to be on the show tonight. He wanted to know if there's any chance that you happen to get inspiration from Kenny Bartram. And I don't think there's any inspiration there, but of course, I'm not the one who's going to speak for you. I'm going to let you tell us the story about how you kind of got into wearing, the Max Gerston cowboy hats.
That's a great question. And actually, I didn't really get inspiration from Kenny. I got inspiration from my grandfather. My grandpa was a farmer, man. He was a tough son of a bitch. And, when I was just a little kid, little kid, I was like, I want a cowboy hat. And there was always something about a cowboy hat that just I loved. So I've basically been wearing a cowboy hat since I was just a young bug, man. And growing up racing and stuff, I mean, there was times when I didn't have it or I had it. And, I finally came to the conclusion, like, you know what? This is what I like. This is kind of where I come from, and I like it, and I'm going to embrace it a little bit. And I just started wearing it, and people started kind of making it my thing, and I didn't make it my thing. They made it my thing. I'm like, dude, I'm just wearing the hat that I like to wear. You know what I mean? And,
yeah.
and then after that, I was kind of like, you know what? This is kind of catching on. Like, and then I kind of just made a pact to myself, like, you know what? I'm wearing a cowboy hat, and when people want me to wear something else on the podium or whatever, I'm like, I'm not doing it, dude. I'm just gonna wear my cowboy hat. Maybe we could put some stickers on it or whatever. But
I was just about to say we need to get a seat time sticker, like right in the front there, right in the front of the hat.
I mean, I'm down. Yeah, dude, I'm down for whatever. I mean, this is my Stetson, So this one doesn't get a lot of stickers.
It just gets a lot of love.
For the most part, yeah, just a lot of love, baby. I mean, a dirty hat's a good hat. You probably can't see how dirty it is, but she's a pretty girl. I like a dirty hat, but yeah, I've just been wearing it since I was a little kid, and I figured, I'm gonna keep this racing thing going, and if something happens with it, I'm not gonna change, man. I'm gonna stay my old self and just stay that kind of cowboy self. I'm gonna stay true, stay tough, and it kind of reminds me too to stay tough and just be a real person. So that's the story behind the cowboy hat right there.
Dig it.
And then of course, if that's your only hat, they might get a little gamey. So how often do you have to change the oil in your hat?
I think that's just when you call it good.
Yeah. And then you got to save it for Austin because you're in 4th place now overall, so you've qualified for X Games.
Yeah.
So make sure you bring it to Texas. They'll think you're a Texan.
Oh yeah, he had it. You had it last year. Oh yeah, because you had it at the after party.
Yeah.
But
dude,
you're in.
I always have a cowboy hat, man.
Yeah.
If you guys catch me without my cowboy hat on, let me make you a deal. If you catch me without my cowboy hat on, you have free reign to punch me in the face.
Well, I'm not a violent person.
Or a helmet.
Yeah. I'm
cowboy hat or helmet.
Punch me in the helmet.
Yeah. I'm also not a strong individual, so I'm not a violent person, so I'm not going to punch him without a helmet, and I'm not a strong person, so I'm not going to punch him in the helmet
because that's going to do a graphic for you or something.
Break my my little baby hands that everybody knows I already have problems with, right, Steven? Yeah, me and my little baby hands. We don't need this.
Get somebody to airbrush a hat on your helmet, so it looks like a cowboy hat on your helmet.
I like that.
Yeah, and I'll warn you. I mean, I'll probably fight back, but it's okay. It'll be fun.
Well, it's all in good fun. It's all in good fun. I like it. Yeah. Well, kind of like one of the last things I was going to touch on was X Games. So I've got 2 questions. Have you heard anything about track setup? And if you have, what have you heard? And second thing is your mom going to drink vodka out of the bottle again?
First off, I haven't heard anything about track setup. Second off, probably. My mom likes to party, and if I do well, she really likes to party, and I like to party too. So, hey man, let's get it popping.
That was the funniest thing, man. That was hilarious. I don't know. We were at that the beginning of that after party anyway, and all of a sudden, you see Max Gerston's little mom, or Max is there, and he's everybody, hey, this is my mom, this is my dad. And I never met him before, so I was like, oh, cool. And right when I meet him, just so happens, I think it was maybe Cody Webb or somebody was passing around one of the vodka bottles, and she just snatched it up and picked it up and started chugging out of it. And I'm just like, I'm getting shot up by a short little older lady than me. I was like, this is intense. And I was like, this will be fun. This will be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another vodka fan.
It was intense.
Yeah, dude. Let me tell you that the Gerstons like to party, man. I mean, my parents are just fun people, man. My parents were always the yes people, man. Whenever I wanted to do something, it was always yes. And I'm so fortunate to have such cool parents. My mom is kind of cool. She's super cool. Likes to have fun. Likes to party, baby. Let's get it popping.
Well, are you going to make it down this year for X Games? I know you guys had just kind of moved and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
we couldn't last year, but we're going to try to make it this year.
Right on, yeah. So hopefully, because last year we had, we took the whole family down there, but just because of all the stuff that goes on with all the media and everything, Tam went away. Tam was hanging out with the kids with some family friends, that had other kids and all that jazz. Trying to see if I can get her and the our oldest daughter, Kaylin, actually out to the event this time. So we're going to try to see how that goes. It'd be fun to get Kaylin out there watching more of the racing to see how that goes down.
She has a motorcycle now.
Yeah, I know. You would really enjoy X Games, I think. It's at COTA where we got a chance to watch the F1. Now, the only thing that sucks is just like with COTA, or any time you go to COTA, walk. Yeah. You just walk. It is such a large property. Oh my gosh.
But they can put everything
Oh, dude,
that they
it's
want on.
gigantic. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And it was cool as I had a media pass. I could go pretty much anywhere I wanted up until I was at the venue that I wanted to shoot at. And then they're like, "Oh, you're media? You're in this pin over here far away from the track." And I was like, "Well, what about the people right in front of me?" They're like,
you know what
"Oh,
your problem was, Brian?
I wasn't your
Brian,
friend."
The problem was, dude, yeah, dude. The problem was you asked too many questions, dude. You got to go in.
Oh, believe me, I got kicked out a lot because that's exactly what I did. I just was walking in and they were like,
better off.
So I was like, all right, fine. And I was just really glad that I had my 70-200 lens because that way I could just zoom in really tight on all the goods that were going on. Well, cool. Well, we look forward to that's probably, unfortunately, the next time we'll get a chance to hang out in person. I don't think that there's funds this year for us to make it to any more live events. We've got a lot of weird stuff going on the background that we're trying to put together. So we're trying to just run a tight ship this year. But we'll be down there just because it's family fun. Like, that's a good trip for all of us to go down there. We get a chance to see some of our friends that live down there in Austin. All of our kids get to hang out. So I look forward to that, man. Up until then, May 1st, Las Vegas. That's the next Endurocross for you guys. What else is going to be going on for you?
You know, I'm just gonna keep up with the training, man. I've been training a lot down at Destry's, like I said, and you know, I got my business. I started my pool service business, so I got that going on 2 days a week. And by the time I do that, I run my business and I train and I ride. Man, my time is pretty much filled up. So
nice.
The next focus is Vegas, and you know, if I find a local race or something like that nearby, I'll do that. But if not, Vegas it is, baby. Let's rock it.
I like it, dude. Well, keep the cowboy hat dirty and the PBR cans empty. I don't.
That's right.
Yeah, don't change the oil in that hat.
Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, man, and keep it pinned, right?
Absolutely, man. That's what it's all about. Keeping it fun, having fun, keeping it pinned.
Well, thank you for being on the show again. I know it's been a long time, unfortunately, and I have to say thank you very much for the braaap noises. Those were, I've yet to hear better, for damn sure.
That's such an honor. It's such an honor.
I like it. Don't blare. Don't blow air up my skirt.
You got a podium finish on that one too.
Hey-oh, nice. All right, dude. You have fun out there, and give us some shout outs when you finish off a PBR can on the Instagrams.
Absolutely, man. Hey, really, thanks a lot for having me on the show, you guys. Really appreciate it, and give me a call whenever, and let's party.
I like it, man. We'll see you in not Vegas, unfortunately.
Austin.
We'll see you in Austin.
Yep. Cool,
all right,
man.
dude. Take it easy. Have a great night. Thanks again.
All right, you guys too, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Oh, man. So much fun. Max Gerston is one of those guys that I have had a chance to hang out with him a couple times in person, and it's always such a great time. He's such a jovial dude. He really is that happy in person, and it's just it catches on, you know.
And it's good to see some new talent at the front.
I agree.
You know, I mean, some of my favorites back there, you know, Destry and and Aaron and those guys, you know, my perennial favorites. They're kind of fading now, and of course the Europeans are kind of gone. But it's good to see. Of course, Brown is Brown. He's always going to be the mechanic up in the front, like the robot. But it's good to see some new talent.
I would
come up. Like last year, Colton Hager.
Yes.
I mean, the only those Lucas commercials he made were unbelievable when he's crawling up and down those buildings, jumping those rocks. Yeah,
back when he was on the.
I mean, that was on the key, not his current ride, but they were awesome commercials. I just would play those over and over and over again. But he was new talent last year. You know, Max is new, and a couple other guys are new talent this year. It's good to see.
Yeah, coming up to the front like that, I really like it. It's good to see. I like seeing. And we've seen it last year. We've seen it this year. Now we're getting some interest in the new obstacles when it comes to Endurocross. I like the fact that they're starting to put in the wooden wall feature a little bit more. I feel like there's some other stuff that they could really take from, you know, and that kind of wooden wall features from kind of the free ride mountain bike thing, you know, downhill and all that. I feel like there's more features there that they could kind of incorporate into Endurocross that would be pretty cool. I don't see why they can't do some kind of really neat drop in the middle of the race.
As long as it doesn't get ridiculous. Because if it gets to the point where a competitive rider winds up being a victim of just dumb luck.
Well, they tried to do something really stupid 2 years ago. They actually had a log that they had to duck under.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is I think when you're an enduro and that kind of just happens, when it's a part of the trail, you're not rubbing elbows and all that kinds of stuff. But while it was out there, they were trying to be aggressive around it. People were knocking their heads on it, and they're like, "Dude, somebody's gonna get their head taken off."
Or yeah.
So they were moving. So that's kind of one of those things where it's like, it could be. It's a great idea because they're trying to change it up. It's not like Supercross feels like all the time where it's like jump, turn, jump, turn.
Yeah,
jump,
but look
turn.
what they did this year. There's now only one guy left.
Yeah.
That can win this thing because they made the track so dangerous and the guys get hurt. There's only one guy left. What kind of racing is that? The thing about Endurocross is it's wonderful to put these bizarre obstacles in, but you can't make it to the point where the guys that are competitive lose out their whole season because of dumb luck in one stupid log that is ridiculous.
Right.
And I kind of thought that log turn we talked about with Max was one of those. The first turn where Brownie got the hole shot, the only reason he got the hole shot is everybody played bowling pins behind him. 3-4 guys just went in.
And that's where Cody Webb kind of stumbled a little, but then when he stumbled, he got clipped, and that took him down, and then he got stuck underneath that rock, and it was just
But these are professionals. They do this for a living.
Right.
It's their living. It's their earning. They can't give up their profession for something stupid.
Yeah.
I think some of the features in Endurocross are getting there, where you have career-ending or at least season-ending mix-ups for guys, and they're professionals. You can't.
But at the same time, we don't want NASCAR in the dirt.
But we don't want NASCAR. No.
So it's that weird fine line where when they try a new feature, you got to go, okay, they tried it. Hopefully, they learned that it might be good, it might be bad.
Is it fun,
all that kinds of stuff,
or is it dangerous?
Right.
And if all it's out there to do is create wrecks like NASCAR, we don't need that. Go watch NASCAR. If all you want to see is a bunch of wrecks, go watch NASCAR. If you want to see racing, that's what dirt bikes are all about, racing, or at least they have been. And I think we're getting away from that. We're getting to be more of a NASCAR mentality, and maybe that's the media, maybe that's the television. But I don't want to see a bunch of these guys. They're not inside of this, 2,800-pound armored vehicle.
I think we get I think we might get a little bit of that feeling when it's indoors, that kind of arena style, because it does, when you're in that arena, you're gonna bring in people that aren't just enthusiasts of the sport. You're gonna be bringing in people that may be watching this for the first time, so they're kind of trying to maybe keep it a little bit to a degree where they can kind of get it and understand it. But if you look at outdoor motocross, like, I think that's still pretty darn pure in the sense of like not really trying to tame it down or make it crazy or make it difficult and all that kind of stuff.
Doug Henry might not agree.
But but I think and it's one of those things where it was look at the statement that Kevin Windham just made in Cycle News, or that it was posted on Cycle News, and obviously it was posted on a lot of different websites. Is talking about, we've had a lot of tragic deaths lately of extremely young talent within the ranks. A lot of kids some kids on super minis, some kids that maybe should or shouldn't be on a 250F motorcycle. And so, he kind of pretty much said, are these bikes too powerful? How are we going to look at this going forward? Because these catastrophic events need to stop. And again, that may not be the race that's getting put on, but these are the bikes that the manufacturers have made. So how do you go to the manufacturers and say, guys, we're not racing on these motorcycles. Make them less powerful because these are hurting people. Now, again, I'm saying that if someone decides that is the case, how do you then change the sport? How do you change the bikes that are being produced to then change the series? Because look at what happened. We were the 125 in the 250 class. Now we're the 250, 450 class. All of a sudden, are we the 200, 350 class? Sport has followed what the manufacturers have decided to be made because the rules didn't catch up quick enough with the technology. From what a little bit I've understood of why we're kind of in that 250, 450 range.
Well, it took a 450 to really dominate the 250 two-stroke. The 400s, remember? You and I were at the track in New Orleans, and when Doug Henry was just starting out, we were flagging that corner, and we were watching him come through. He couldn't pull the 250s with the 400 Yamaha. He couldn't pull it.
But do we also think that it was the 400 then do we think that if they would have had time to tweak the same CCs 400, that it would? And this is a question. Do you think? I mean, I don't, because you worked on that 400, you worked on the 426s, you've worked on the 450s. You know, is it just the CCs, or is it also the technology advancement from that 400 to where we're at now? Let's not even count what KTM came out with, because that bike's amazing. But
well, Yamaha's still one of the few people that got 5 valves per cylinder to work from the get-go.
yeah,
I mean, my 99, I never had a valve problem. I checked the valve clearance, and I rode this thing in Colorado 500s.
and that was just because you thought you needed to, not because you had to.
You know, the bucket shim thing. And okay, after about 3 years, I had to change the buckets.
Right.
Not that I had to, but I was still in the range. I mean, Yamaha had that nailed from the beginning, the 5-valve head. It's still, okay, so now it points backwards instead of forwards.
Well, they've gone to 4-valve, too, in that a couple years ago.
But for reliability.
Right.
But the frame and everything and the suspension is so much better than it was back in 99.
Yeah.
I don't know that raw horsepower is that much better. Oh, it's a bigger engine. It's 450. So it's going to make more raw horsepower. But that's what it took to really dominate the 250s. Huh. The braaap, 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 you know, the Maxes of the world.
The Max noises of the world. Well, that's interesting. And I really hope that if nothing else, that what Kevin Windham said and what kind of you're saying maybe about some of the tracks and being too dangerous and stuff, that somehow this does start to affect the sport in that we can see change that is better for everybody. You know, I mean, how many people say the 450 is too strong?
Boy, am I going to make some enemies here. It's like gun control.
Oh, God.
Okay?
Bring it.
Guns don't kill, people do. All right? It ain't the motorcycle that crashes. It's the person on the motorcycle under the conditions of the track.
Right.
It's not the bike's fault.
The bike is a tool.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's like a helmet or a pair of boots. It just happens to be, or a horse. It just happens to be a horse that doesn't eat grass.
That doesn't think
and make
for
green
itself.
spots in the highway. It's where the bike is ridden. It's the people riding over their head with the bike. Don't blame the bike and the horsepower in the bike. Blame the nutcase that connects the seat to the handlebars for riding over his head.
Okay. I can take that one step further, kind of maybe following that direction, but a tad bit the other direction, is say, but also, is the industry over pushing our youth when they're on a 250 to speeds they shouldn't be trying to achieve on these bikes?
Look at all the kids in 250 that are hurt.
Right. And so to your point, where it's like, sure, the 250 is a tool, but when the industry itself is shaped to showcase these speeds, which it looks good. I wish I could go that fast. I can't. And it sucks to say that, but it's just the truth. But with that being the pinnacle, for a 13, 14, 15-year-old kid who's at this point on a 250F, who maybe just came off of an 80, they're like, well, this bike can go faster. That means I need to go faster. Yeah. And that is where you're right. Like, that kid should say, I need to be more controlled on this motorcycle because this motorcycle can hurt me, or I can get more hurt on this stronger, faster motorcycle.
Yes.
But then the problem is they're like, I want sponsorships. I want to race for a career. And so what do you think?
And maybe they have a father behind them going, like baseball and football dads.
And so, it could go.
Did your dad do that?
Luckily not with football or baseball, because you saw how much I sucked at those pretty damn quick.
Yeah, he's pretty bad. But look at Europe, okay? They've got the 250, 450 scenario.
Yeah.
But the tracks are safer.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, do they have Supercross? I mean, they have indoor arena. They have more of an arena cross.
Yeah, I don't get this. We don't get to see much of the other stuff, but I'm talking about the World Championship type races. The tracks are safer. Now, they're nastier.
Like they get
slow
muddier.
them down.
Yeah,
They slow the bikes down they don't clean out the braking ruts. They don't clean out the ruts. They don't, the faces of the jumps aren't manicured so that they can go 100 feet in the air. Like they are in Supercross and even some motocross here. That slows the bikes down.
Right.
But do things to the track to slow the bikes down, and they'll be safer.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to have a better way of evaluating if an individual is ready for a class that he's in.
I think they're trying to do that with again, I'm not by any means a Supercross media guy in all that kinds of sense, but I think that that's what they're trying to do with the Ricky Carmichael Road to Supercross.
Wow.
But I hate to say it too, when a lot of people talk about that, they're kind of like, yeah, the Road to Supercross, kind of like it's more about Ricky Carmichael's name getting out there more than it is about actually doing it.
Right.
And I'm not close enough to really know or to understand.
And I got to see what here in Dallas, what some of the people who came up, and no names, but some of the people who came up through the Road to Supercross, how well they did not do.
Yeah.
They couldn't ride whoops. They could jump.
Yeah.
Because Endurocross, they jump all the time. That's all they have.
Yeah.
But a serious set of
Arena
deep
cross.
whoops, arena cross, they don't have those in arena cross.
Yep.
They certainly have timing things. And some of these kids just aren't ready.
Interesting.
And remember in Dallas, how many people were falling and getting hurt?
Oh yeah.
I mean, in the whoops because they couldn't handle it. It wasn't safe.
They're intense. Standing in them scared
Now, the
the crap out of
450s
me.
they were better because those are better riders. But the 250s were crashing all over the place. You know, because we saw the whole day.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't just see the televised part. We were there for the qualifying, and I mean, we saw at least a dozen people, go farming
And then
in the whoops.
And with that too, it's like you'd see some people come over that triple, they take that right hand turn,
Yes.
and then they just go around the whoops. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to practice other parts of the track without
Killed.
crashing here,
Yeah.
but you got to do it. It's part of the track.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm kind of like, don't skip a part. That's almost a spot where you got to turn and keep doing it
Well-
because you gotta get it.
Even that double. How many times did we see the Astros medical crew come out and drag people off?
The double
that
in the middle of the
cased it
whoops.
just before the whoops.
Oh, the triple. Yeah.
Yeah, just before where the 250s, they were for a long time they were singling those things
Yeah.
until finally a couple of the faster riders doubled them, and then more people figured out. But even some of the people that made the main never doubled that.
Yeah. It's big. It's big.
But what's a 250 doing out there? A kid that was on a 100 or an 80 6 months ago.
Yep. It's an interesting discussion. And then I hope everything we've said is viable. I know that, as we've said multiple times, we're enthusiasts of this sport. He has obviously done it for a very, very long time. I've done it since I was 5 years old. I love this sport. I love riding dirt bikes. Obviously, nothing we've said is in any kind of real negative connotation. But at the same time, we want to see things continue. I have a son who I want to ride, and in what Kevin Stewart, what he was talking about is just like he doesn't want his son to ride, or he's thankful that his son doesn't want to race at this point in his career. And I'm like, man, I just want my kid to ride. I don't care about racing. But yeah, it's a concern now because I'm kind of like, well, that would suck, to lose your son to the sport that you love so much that you've had with your father.
About Gary Bailey and David Bailey.
Right?
Gary Bailey was one of the people who started motocross in this country. I took his school in 1972.
Nice.
Before I got on the track for the first time.
Learn things.
I still crashed
every
and
day.
burned and tore up my right shoulder.
I watched his VHS tape
I made you watch his VHS.
multiple times. Yeah, well, let's go watch that again in rad. So cool. Well, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Again, if anything we said makes sense, if you enjoyed it, please make sure you share it with your friends. You can use all the different ways to comment and get in touch with us. We'd really appreciate that. Steven and I do have a new venture that is going to be starting this Saturday at the Franconia Brewery here in McKinney, Texas. So if you happen to be local, please grab a ticket. Come on out. If not, it will be on theproperpint.co will be the URL. You can watch that show live. It's not a motorcycle show. It is a beer drinking show. We're going to be at the brewery talking with the brewers about their process, how they got started, learning about them in a lot of the same fun format, though, that we do here on Seat Time. So hopefully if you are into beer at all, you know about Franconia, just want to check it out, please feel free to do so. We'd really appreciate it.
They probably have Harleys anyway.
We could only hope.
Okay.
So definitely Seat Time. You guys can check us out at our website, seattime.co. We are on the facebook.com/seattime. You can find us on Twitter. We're at seattime_co. We're on Instagram as well. It's at seattime. And if there's anything else new pops up, pretty sure we'll be on it and try to figure it out. Remember, big thanks to Fly Racing, Stillwell Performance, and Kenda Tire for their support of Seat Time. If you've enjoyed anything here, please go to their websites or go to your local dealer and try to purchase some of their products, because obviously they're helping support the sport by helping us, and that means the world to us. So we really appreciate it. Steven, what else?
That's it.
I think that's it. All right. So huge thanks to Max Gerston coming on. We will definitely
That was wonderful.
definitely pull out some of those sound clips and put those together for everybody out there because I think
We
that's
need
just
to put a cam on his, the
helmet camera
helmet camera on him. Yeah.
while he makes the braaap noises.
Yeah. See, that would be live coverage.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We're like, okay, so you're gonna ride the bike and make braaap noises, but we're not gonna mic the bike. We're gonna mic you. So he rides and then makes the noises that he thinks the bike would make. That's
For
a
a
good
practice
idea.
lap.
That'd be fun.
And then when he crashes into rocks,
Shit.
we get to do a Michael Lessie kind of video where the bike tumbles over and over and over.
Or you mean where somebody's got a laser in his eye?
No.
Oh, okay. Lasergate.
Daytona.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate it. Remember, always enjoy a Pineful of Awesome. We'll be back next Tuesday where we'll get a chance to talk about Steel Creek GNCC and the fact that they canceled the Texas Enduro. We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah,
well.
I've got pictures of it.
It was horrible.
There were places, guys, where you would have been literally over your head in water.
Oh, it was a river.
There's just no. I got pictures. Go to the website. Go to the NAPEG website. Look at some of the pictures. You didn't want to go there.
Nope. It would have sucked. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Peace.